everyone, welcome to us, the Geek Philosophers. I'm Billy, and as always, I've got Yan beside me.
Hello.
And we're going to be, recapping, reviewing the new movie. Well, it's new to DVD and Blu-ray right now. It's Thor Ragnarok. And this is one of the newest Marvel movies out right now. Big release, did okay in the theaters, did really good in the theaters. This is the third of the Thor movies, a couple of ones before this. So before I go any further, just want to mention we're out there on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. So by all means, when you're done watching us or listening to us, go out and have a look, comment, like us, follow us, whatever it may be, because we're going to keep doing this and probably release a new episode every week. So before I go any further with that, I just want to mention once again, make sure that you've seen Thor Ragnarok before listening to our podcast here, because we are spoiler-filled. We'll totally wreck this movie for you, eh, Ian?
Yep, completely.
So I'm going to throw it over to you. Go ahead and you can do the recap for this one.
Sure. I don't actually remember how the second one finished, but basically the main gist of this movie is that Odin dies, and with his death, basically Thor and Loki's sister comes back, who's Hela, the goddess of hell, and tries to take over Asgard and destroy it all. And the two brothers kind of band together to try to stop her and save their homeworld.
Yeah, and in the process, they get slipstreamed or portalized out of whatever their gateway is called.
The Bifrost.
And booted onto this really weird, initially Wall-E looking world.
Well, that's exactly what I thought too. I was like, what garbage planet are they on?
Yeah,
and Wall-E came to mind immediately.
Totally looked like, well, and the funny thing was, I was thinking, okay, so just a matter of time before humans on like sleds, hover sleds,
the hover chairs,
and there's Jeff Goldblum on a hover chair, and Thor's actually on a hover chair. So yeah, they get banished to this planet. So a lot of it happens on Sikaar, I believe it's called.
I think so.
Yeah,
I wasn't really paying attention.
Obviously, they escape. Big fight with Hela. By the way, Hela, that's Kate Blanchett. Mm-hmm. She looked pretty cool in this.
I love Kate Blanchett. She makes such a great villain.
Yeah.
And she's just got that look about her, and I just find she did a fantastic job on here. And even I find, like in Lord of the Rings, where she played Galadriel. Yeah. Galadriel's supposed to be like this good, benevolent elf character, but I always found like throughout the entire series, she's gonna go evil. There's something about her look. I don't know.
Vibe. Yeah. And what helps too in this case, I'm not, as well as I do, not a big fan of spiders.
Right.
Having a big upside down spider looking thing on your head, it's picture perfect villainous as far as I'm concerned. So what's something that you actually appreciated? We'll start with a few goods and then we'll go to the bads and then we'll just kind of go from there. So what did you like about this?
I like that in classic Marvel style they included a lot of comedy in it. I find that's the big difference between kind of the Marvel superhero movies of late and the DC ones, is DC tend to be a lot darker, more somber, serious action drama, whereas Marvel always
melodramatic, right?
Yeah, Marvel always included. I find this movie is almost more of a comedy than it is an action movie. Yeah, and it's a bit refreshing because even like the early Marvel movies, like the first Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire, it had a bit of humor, but it seems like the more they go, they kind of get tired of their own genre, so they're introducing a lot more comedy.
You could even argue the first two Thor movies compared to this one,
right?
Yeah,
exactly.
Because they were pretty serious as far as
they
things go.
They had a bit of comedy in it, but it wasn't. I find this one reminded me a lot of Guardians of the Galaxy.
That's exactly it.
It's a lot of comedy.
Deadpool, where it's mile a minute laughs instead of just the odd. Because even like the first Avengers, you had where Thor gets punched by the Hulk. There's that one scene where they're looking at each other like they're buddies. And it's just the odd little smidge of humor outside of Robert Downey Jr., right?
Yeah, because he was
always joking around.
Lead, right? Yeah.
But it's almost like all the characters, and we'll get to it in a little bit when I mentioned later, but even the Hulk and Bruce Banner are even in that same vein of joking a mile a minute instead of always a serious undertone, right?
Yep.
So yeah, I'm with you. I wasn't expecting that because I think that's what I didn't really like too much about the first two Thors was just how serious they were, and everything was trying to be a little more epic and everything like that. In this, even Odin is joking around.
Yeah, exactly.
Even Odin jokes around. So it's just one of those things where it was refreshing. And while if you told me that this one would be more of a comedy, I bet you before I actually saw it, I'm not sure I would have been sold that it would have worked on me, is what it come down to, because you expect Guardians of the Galaxy, like you mentioned, and Deadpool to be very silly, right?
Yeah.
But this was a silly movie.
It
came down to it, this was a silly movie.
I was a little concerned at the start of it because the first few jokes I found they're funny-ish.
Yeah.
But it was one of those like, ooh, like, am I gonna enjoy this movie? Because it's almost too silly.
Because
like,
they hit the ground running with the jokes.
Yeah,
he's
like
fighting
even like the shake
demons.
weight and all that stuff, and I was kind of just thinking, I'm like, this is sort of funny, but I don't know if it's gone too far into like the almost slapstick comedy.
That's it.
But then I found they reeled it back and they had a lot of good humor in it, so I really enjoyed that.
And since you mentioned it, let's go there with so that's Scourge.
Scourge, yeah.
Scourge with the shake weight, and that was funny. Like that was a good intro to that character because he's talking about all his earthly artifacts.
Yeah.
He's got that shake weight. I actually forgot what that thing was called. We've all seen them. I actually had to Google that it was called the shake weight. I thought that should have had a funnier name. That it should be funnier than the shake weight. But his two big, guns there. Des and Troy. So, and the funny thing is, who plays him?
Carl Urban.
Yeah. Now, is it me or is he one of those guys that almost? Who's the guy that plays Apocalypse?
Oscar Isaac.
Okay, so you know how that guy, whether he's Poe, whether he's Apocalypse, whether he's the dude in Ex Machina, he looks different every role. Don't you find Carl Urban's like that too?
Oh, yeah.
Because he looks big in this, right?
Oh, yeah.
And he looked big in Judge Dredd.
Yep.
But Star Trek, when he's Bones, he looked little.
Just little.
Like, how does
he
that
played
work?
In Doom.
Yeah.
And he was Éomer in Lord of the Rings.
That's true, eh? Yeah, just a guy that is one of those guys that looks different.
It just changes his look completely.
I guess so, yeah. Yeah. So for next podcast, I'm actually going to shave my head so you guys won't recognize me. All right, so just going back to that, that introduction of comedy and that comedic value there. The main scene that we start off in there is pretty much Thor deep in it looks like the bowels of hell, fighting the demons and everything like that. And he's joking around, like when he's spinning around on the chain, he's like, oh, just hang on. And it's just one of those things where that whole scene for an intro, like an opening scene, really cool. That was a good scene in there. I like that. And what was really cool from that scene was, I don't remember them doing it for other Thor or Avengers movies, but they had Mjolnir cam. So they actually saw when it's going through bodies and everything.
Yep.
I like Mjolnir cam.
Except Mjolnir's gone now.
Shall we talk about that now? Morning Mjolnir?
Yes.
Yeah, so now you probably have a lot more, history as far as Thor goes, because I read a lot of comics, but it was mostly X-Men, Spider-Man, Wolverine, everything like that. Not a whole lot of Thor. So I actually had to look on the web, and Mjolnir does get smashed at different points in the comics.
Oh, really? See, I don't know a ton about Norse mythology, so
just in the comics though, like the Thor
comics.
Yeah.
I just, from what I've known of Mjolnir, was it's indestructible.
That's what I thought too. Yeah. So that's why when it happened, I'm like,
yeah.
But supposedly he can even, if he's holding on to, I guess, the pommel of it. Mm-hmm. Is that what it's called? What's the handle? The hammer handle. Then it'll actually regenerate for him. Yeah. So I'm not sure why he still didn't have it, because that's what it's.
Maybe he just doesn't know.
He'll figure it out eventually.
Doesn't know how to use his hammer.
He'll figure it out. So, I guess just speaking of the one fight scene at the start, pretty much all fight scenes in this flick were pretty good.
Yeah.
I found they were all pretty well done, and sadly, maybe the standard big time Avengers type fare, but what you'd expect is what it comes down to, right?
The one thing, just going back to Mjolnir, is they never really did explain how she was able to just catch it and destroy it, did they? Because that thing's been through a lot.
Yeah.
And why all of a sudden she just catches it like it's nothing and crushes it? She's the goddess of death, but... Maybe
it's his bloodline that can wield it, not just him?
Maybe. But then Loki wasn't able to either.
But he's not... He's like adopted brother, right?
True, yeah.
So, anyways, if any of you listening have an answer to this,
please
perfect
let us know.
Perfect time to comment, yeah. So
also, fun fact.
Yeah.
In Norse mythology, her name is actually Hel, not
Oh, yeah?
Hela. And that's where
Hela's girlier. You know, they didn't want to totally.
It's Hel with one L.
Hey, yeah, but when you're naming your daughter,
Christianity's Satan's realm comes from.
I'm a dad with 2 daughters. When you're naming your daughter, you don't want to just like burden them with such a bad name right off the bat. So you give them Hela. You never know. They might lighten up as far as things go. But if you call them Hel, they're just gonna be awful. They're gonna be bad kids.
Your kids are kind of bad. Sorry to break
They may
this
listen
to you.
to this. They may listen to this.
I'm just kidding. They're my favorite kids ever.
So, something I found was good was the casting. The casting for this, pretty much every character that was in there, even minor characters, were really good. I found.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the main baddies, the main goodies, you know, they're always good.
Yeah.
Jeff Goldblum.
Oh, he was great.
Was really good, really good. But he's just kind of no fail. I was kind of, you know, between say Jurassic Park movies, he kind of went away. And he wasn't in a whole lot, right? After Independence Day, everything like that.
He kind of played a couple cameo roles here and there.
That's it, yeah. So it's good to see him back, and like you say, perfect in that role of the
just got that kind of awkward. I don't know what the word is, but he just fits that kind of character so well.
And he had some of the I found funnier lines in this.
Oh yeah.
Like he had one there, Asgard. He says, you know, and then you can go back to, you know, Ass Place, you know, Asberg, I think he says.
But why'd you give me the melting stick?
Yeah. Or else the one part that I like was where he, the one girl is really tough right hand woman there.
His captain
says,
or whatever.
Yeah. She says, hey, you know, the slaves have escaped. Whoa, we don't call them that.
Don't say the S word.
What do we call them? Prisoners with jobs. Prisoners with jobs, right? But even when Thor was holed up in his cell, or where all the other gladiators were, let's call them, that one rock guy.
Rock guy, yeah.
He had a lot of and he's just, do you know what his name was?
No clue.
See, he was just kind of a bit part, but his voice was...
the dead guy was Doug.
I've just been carrying him around. Oh, yeah. I thought you meant the critter at the end. By New Doug.
By New Doug.
So,
speaking of casting, though, did you notice there were a few cameos in here?
I did, which is the one... I only noticed one cameo, though.
Which one?
Matt Damon.
Yeah.
Was actually... no.
Loki.
Yeah, he was Loki in that little play that they were playing.
Do you know who played Thor?
No.
It was actually Chris Hemsworth's older brother.
Oh, really?
Luke Hemsworth, yeah. He played in the third Hemsworth, because there's 3 of them now. Liam and Luke is the oldest one. He played in Westworld. But he actually played his brother's character, which was kind of funny.
Yeah.
And Odin was played by Sam Neill, actually. Speaking of Jurassic
Odin
Park
was
cast.
in that play?
In the play, yeah.
Really?
You didn't pick that up?
I didn't pick that up at all. That's cool. The figures that they'd get actual actors to play them in this silly play that Loki's putting on.
You almost wonder if Jeff Goldblum recommended Sam Neill.
Yeah, exactly. So just a couple of funny parts, and you know, it's hard not to talk about some of your favorite funny parts in this, but one of my favorite parts, I know, sadly we already pre-podcast talked about one part that I know is your favorite, but one of my favorite parts in this was in the gladiator arena when Thor is trying to pull the Black Widow kind of calm down.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the sun is setting. Is that what it is? The sun is setting.
You're okay.
And he's almost there, and he just gives him the old thrashing, like how he did the Loki.
Well, and then Loki stands up. Now you know how it feels.
That was a beaut. But go ahead. I know you want to mention your favorite part.
Yeah, mine. I actually rewound this part about 4 or 5 times, and I had tears running down my face, laughing. The old battle scene at the end where Bruce Banner jumps out of the ship to kill or to fight Fenrir.
Yeah.
And I was not expecting what actually happened. I was actually expecting the Hollywood turn into the Hulk in the sky and totally save the day. But the little thump noise when he hits that Bifrost bridge, oh my god, that was well played, guys. Well, that was genius.
Because he does, I don't know, I forget which, is it Age of Ultron, but he actually does that where he jumps out of the plane and stresses himself out enough that he turns into the Hulk by the time he hits the ground, right? I thought he did that in one of the movies. So I guess he was trying to do this. I like how he's. You know what was the best part about that scene is that he's all, I got this.
Yeah.
Don't worry. He's the Valkyrie.
Well,
chick.
because he did that in Avengers,
Yeah.
where the big flying monster's coming at them.
Yeah.
And he turns and he's got his little one-liner. He's like, "That's my secret. I'm always angry." And he just turns into the Hulk and stops it. So that's exactly what I was expecting. But yeah, the old little bump, and then I find he almost looked like the characters in Family Guy when they fall down and their limbs are all twisted. That's exactly what he looked like on that bridge.
And just while we're on the topic of Bruce Banner, I found he was Mark Ruffalo, right?
Yeah.
He was so composed in the other Avengers movies.
Yeah.
He was the calm scientist. This, almost everything he said was witty and funny. Especially the one line that stuck in my head was, "I'm stuck on a planet that's built to stretch me out."
Yeah.
How do you not turn into the Hulk, right? But just a whole lot funnier. But
the whole Tony Stark pants where he kept grabbing his crotch. He's like, "Oh, these are too tight."
Yeah. So, and speaking of the Hulk, I guess on the topic of the Hulk, when did the Hulk get so lucid? He wasn't that, he knew everything that was going on pretty much, except for the fact that he didn't really know how to turn back into Bruce Banner or want to.
Well, I think at the end of Age of Ultron, though, he's with it because he makes the decision to stay in the jet, and that's when Black Widow is messaging him saying, "Okay, big guy, you're good to come home now," and he turns her off, and he's like, no, because if I stay here, this place isn't good for me.
Yeah.
So at that point, he's pretty lucid because he makes that decision as the Hulk to say, it's safer for me to leave than to stay here, and who knows what'll happen. So that's how he actually ends up, I'm assuming, on the garbage planet.
I guess. And they said 2 years passed, and he was
yeah.
the Hulk
So that
for
was
2
kind
years.
of a neat feature that I'd never thought of before. I always thought he throws a temper tantrum, goes into the Hulk mode, and then eventually calms down. But I never actually thought that he could stay the Hulk for that kind of period of time.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool.
Maybe the plane crash messed him up so bad.
Jumbled his brain.
Yeah, he was traumatized by it. Once again, on the topic of the Hulk, I find while it's getting better, I still find they have a rough time properly animating his face so it doesn't look cartoony.
Really? See, I was fine with it.
I always find
You're super picky with CGI.
I know, but I always figure, you look at, which one was it, Rogue One?
Mm-hmm.
You had, they did a young Carrie Fisher, and it was pretty darn spot on.
But she doesn't have green skin, though.
Yeah, but it's with CG, that's pretty easy. It's one click of a mouse button there. But her and Tarkin, their faces were near perfect, where if you weren't really looking for it, you wouldn't even know that they're CG sometimes in some scenes. But the Hulk, I don't know that. And you know what? This is something that I wasn't a big fan of in this flick, was sometimes, most of the effects were great. Mm-hmm. Most were great. But I found sometimes like that, you called the wolf something. What do you call him?
I think it's Fenrir or Fenris. I think it's Fenris, actually.
But I found that wolf, and even the whole fight scene between a Hulk and the wolf.
Well, apparently wolves are actually very, very difficult to do in CGI. And if you ever wonder why there's less and less scenes with the wolves in Game of Thrones, they actually said that's the reason. It's a lot easier for them to CGI dragons than it is wolves. So they've started, obviously the story was written that a lot of them were killed off, but Nymeria, when she came back in that last season, they kind of had a quick blip with her and shoot her off the screen because they said it's too hard to make them look real.
I guess no, it's not a wolf, the big cat in Walking Dead.
Yeah.
It's always pretty often. Now we're talking TV shows compared to movie budgets, but and how about that deer in Walking Dead?
Oh.
But this isn't a Walking Dead. This isn't a Walking Dead podcast or a deer. We're talking about wolves, not deer.
But yeah, so apparently wolves are actually really, really difficult to.
I'd imagine most animals, but still, it just seems like one of those things where they're getting closer with the Hulk face, but I still find it still a bit too cartoony. The good news, it kind of works with this type of movie because it's more of a popcorn flick and a comedy than it is a serious. Absorb yourself into it, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's funny because I've already touched on it as a like, but I found halfway through the movie I wasn't sure about how funny it was. Mm-hmm. I wasn't sure if I was completely into it, but I found there was a certain friction point there where I let myself go to realize this is more of a comedy than an action comedy as opposed to just action. and it was a hard read at first, but now I don't know.
Well, especially since the first two, like you said, were so serious.
Yeah.
You kind of went into this thinking, okay, this is going to be similar to its predecessor.
Yeah.
But it just went completely off the deep end.
Well, and it's definitely a movie I think I might enjoy the second time around now that I know what to expect from it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was funny because I was watching it down in my basement by myself, and I watched a bit of it and then went upstairs, for a drink of water or something. And my wife Heather actually said, "What are you watching down there?" I said, "Thor," and she kind of gave me a look because she wasn't expecting me to laugh that much out loud from Thor, right? But we've already talked about...
No, when you said Thor, she just thought, you're such a nerd.
Yeah, I know. Well, she says it all the time. It doesn't matter if I'm watching movies or whatever the case may be.
One other thing that I really liked was the Doctor Strange tie-in.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of cool. I watched the Doctor Strange movie. I wasn't a huge fan of it. It was a little too out there for me.
It was pretty... and he's almost too powerful.
Yeah, like the stuff he was doing there was, quite powerful. But I found just the tie-in where... because he's basically the guardian of the earth, right? Yeah. So the fact that two Norse gods show up should trip his radar. So I found it kind of made sense in the whole universe and the timeline that they brought that in. So I thought that was kind of cool.
Were you like me? Did you think he'd show up for the final battle or anything like that?
No, I kind of figured it was just a quick cameo.
By the way, sure he was going to show up sooner or later. I'm not sure. I actually thought it was to help them off that Wall-E planet. He would have been the new what's her name, Evie?
Yeah.
Evie?
Ava.
So, and speaking of Doctor Strange and what's his name, Wimbledon tennis match? Gandalf.
Yeah, Bumblebee Cumberbatch or something.
Yeah, Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yeah, Cumberbatch, yeah.
The cool thing about him is, and you know how if you and I are to mimic a British accent, we'd suck at it. We obviously do, and if we were to act with a British accent, I find it really amazing how a guy like him with a really thick British accent can totally wipe it out.
Yeah.
And I know Andrew Lincoln, speaking of Walk of the Dead. Walk of the Dead. Don't take that stroll. That's the Walk of the Dead. But the British folks are just really good at wiping out their accent and sounding like a typical American. And I find that really amazing because with him, you don't catch any of it.
No.
You don't catch any of it.
Although, have you ever heard Eric Bana speak? He's
no.
Australian.
Yeah.
He's got the thickest accent I've ever heard.
Yeah.
But every movie I've seen him in, it's just completely gone. But actually hearing him talk with his regular accent, like you think Australian accent, you think, Hugh Jackman or Russell Crowe. But Eric Bana sounds like he's from a completely different place from these guys. Yeah. It's crazy.
Huh. You know why I'd like to hang out with Doctor Strange, by the way? He conjures massive beers, and you're not even
he
done.
refills them.
You're not even done it, and he refills them, and they're not even just normal sized beers.
No,
they're big
Thor
suckers from
beers.
like Boston Pizza beers, right? So that's a good thing about him. So something I wasn't a big fan of here is that I'll call it a restraining bolt on the planet that they keep shooting on our gods here, Thor and Loki.
Yeah, it's the little neck dart.
They shoot that thing, and it's just a little. It looks like a gun clip type of thing, and this thing totally incapacitates them. Not to mention the fact that Thor gets taken down by it, and it seems to be electrical.
Well, that's exactly what I was thinking. I'm like, hey, how is the god of thunder being taken down by electricity?
That's it, right?
Come on.
Yeah, but these guys. Aliens have pile drived at least Thor.
Yeah.
Well, the Hulk can smash both of them, and they still get up like nothing.
Yeah.
But this little restraining bolt, just a Star Wars reference, the restraining bolt on them just completely floors them, and they can't do anything.
You know where I thought they were going to use that, though? Is when he actually pulls it out, he kind of puts it in his pocket. I was sure he was going back to Asgard, and that's how they're going to take out Hela.
Oh.
Because I thought nothing else works. She's way too strong for all of them, but apparently this little neck dart takes out anybody.
Yeah.
So that's where I thought, but when I saw him use it on Loki, I was like, oh, okay, well now how the hell are they going to take out Hela? So
yeah,
that was my original thought.
And speaking of how indestructible Thor is particularly, he loses an eye here.
Yeah. Which was interesting. I didn't see that one coming.
Yeah, I mean, well, neither did he. And he won't next time either. But I guess it kind of goes with the fact his dad's missing that eye, maybe.
Right.
Maybe. So now he's the new king, and he's got the short hair like his dad.
Well, his dad had long hair.
Even when he was on Retirement Planet?
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess
Retirement Planet, you mean Earth?
and Norway. Yeah, so, I don't know. I guess I knew that he didn't have regenerative powers like the Hulk does.
Yeah.
But I just figured he was that indestructible that even his eyes were safe, but...
Not from his sister, apparently.
If you're fighting a god,
you ever fight your sister? They always go for the eyes.
Yeah, I guess so.
Don't fight a sister, man.
Nope. Okay, so when he was fighting his sister, speaking of that, and, you know, he thinks about his dad, electrical shocks everywhere, eyes are electric. What were you thinking?
Eye is electric?
Well, the first time he fights her, eyes were electric. What were you thinking? Because I was thinking, I'm surprised. Mortal Kombat fan and all?
Oh,
I was
Raiden?
just thinking, Raiden wins. Finish her. And I was thinking round 2, whenever they were going to fight the second round 2. Fight. You didn't think that at all?
No.
I'm so surprised because he looked exactly like him.
Well,
That's
he
exactly
had 2 eyes.
Dude. No. Raiden had 2 eyes?
He didn't have the little hat there.
Yeah.
You need the hat to be Raiden.
Yeah, I guess so.
One thing that I found I really didn't like, kind of going with how strong, you know, Thor and all of these guys are, is when they're on that garbage planet and they're making their escape with those little stolen jets. He doesn't have his hammer. He uses his hammer to fly. The girl that was with them, I found she looked like Michelle Rodriguez. I have no idea what her real name is.
That's what I thought it was to begin with.
Yeah. She's a Valkyrie, so they have flying horses, which she didn't have. And somehow they're like flying through the skies from ship to ship, breaking them up, ripping stuff out, and then jumping up on... I was just thinking, I'm like, okay, what's going on here? And I started thinking, I was like, hey, well, how does Asgard work? I'm never sure they ever explained him. So Thor is really strong, but he's the god of thunder. So is Asgard supposed to be like Mount Olympus is for the Greeks, where everybody there is a god?
I guess so.
Or is it just like everybody on that planet, it's like Krypton, like where Superman's from, where everybody is just that strong?
They're all pretty strong, because he had his band of cronies there, and even Scourge can shake it up pretty good. He jumps out of that ship.
Heimdall made sense because he's a god. You know? I don't know who Scourge is. I don't think he's a god. But then all the people are kind of stuck on the bridge. They're not doing much.
They're just peasants,
So, I don't know. I was just kind of very confused. And then they're on this garbage planet, and they're basically both Superman. They're flying from ship to ship, ripping them apart with their bare hands. So I kind of find that was a little bit weird, where every other instance we'd seen them,
they're pretty wussy.
Thor, he's strong, but only with his hammer. Like when he swings that around, he was really strong. True. But aside from that, he didn't do much. Yeah,
because even against the Hulk, he didn't do a whole lot until he got that big faux Mjolnir. Fjolnir.
Fjolnir.
So I guess around that part where you're talking about, we can't conclude this podcast without talking about the Grand Master's orgy ship, of course. How funny was that with the fireworks, disco lights, and everything?
Did he say the orgy ship?
Don't touch anything. So, do you have a kind of a concluding thought as far as this movie goes, or anything that you'd like to kind of highlight that we haven't talked about?
The only other kind of outstanding question I had was, they've always talked about the Bifrost being the only way to travel between the 9 realms. Now that's gone. But they're just using spaceships to travel now.
Oh, but what about the Devil's Anus?
Well, I mean, that's another...
that's
a whole other topic.
Different podcast.
But yeah, I just kind of found that weird. It was just one of those like, oh, okay, so you never really needed this Rainbow Road to get anywhere.
Yeah, that's true, because that's pretty much their main means of travel.
And they have spaceships, like Asgard in the other movies. You could see them flying around in these spaceships. They have them. So why did they need the Rainbow Road?
Yeah, good question. I don't have an answer for you. Maybe our listeners do.
And the big fire guy, I found... I don't know which movie came out first, but I found it was kind of I've seen Justice League first. So I'm going to say Thor is a ripoff of Justice League, because that main bad guy from Justice League, Steppenwolf, I think, was basically the same thing as this big fire guy.
Well, and before that, Balrog.
Yeah.
There you go.
So
right? Maybe it's all the same guy.
And I mean, again, I'm not up to snuff on my Norse mythology here, so I don't know who that fire guy was. I don't remember what his name was even. But I kind of just found they should have done something. Unless he's an actual, that's his character in the actual mythology.
He wasn't the sharpest when you think about it, eh?
No.
So they summon him. Hey, I'm on Asgard here. I can take this over and rule it forever. No, I'm just gonna blow it up and myself.
Yeah.
I am gonna just squish Spiderhead here.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna take this planet and mash it with me on it, because I'm assuming he's gone.
Oh yeah.
He iced himself somehow.
Unless he can fly through space.
Yeah. So
maybe he'll end up going through the devil's anus. Be the Grandmaster's new champion.
Maybe that's how devil's anuses are created. So I guess, do you have anything else?
Nope.
Okay, so out of 5, how would you rate this movie, Thor Ragnarok?
I'm rating it 4 green Hulk butt cheeks out of 5.
I'm going to rate it 4.5 orgy ships out of 5. So everyone, like I said before, feel free and please follow us and comment, review. Let us know what you think, whether it's on iTunes, Facebook, wherever you're listening to us. Please, by all means, let us know what you think. We're on most social media, and we're just looking to get things rolling with this. So the more feedback we get, the more comments, the more ratings, the more of these we're going to put out each and every week. Thanks for listening, and we're the Geek Philosophers.
Boom,